you
Come
will,
on.
maybe wrong.
You're not proposing we go back to the days of internment camps, I hope.
No, I'm not proposing that at all, Megan. But what I am
saying is
that
better than to
we need to
suggest
protect
that.
America.
I mean, that's the kind of stuff that gets people scared, Carl.
Right. But I'm just saying there is precedent for it, and I'm not saying I agree with it, but in this case, I absolutely believe that a regional-based...
You can't be citing Japanese internment camps as precedent for anything the president-elect is going to do.
As you can imagine, there was major backlash after Carl Higbie, a prominent Trump supporter, cited World War II-era internment camps in the U.S. as a precedent for Trump world's desire for a Muslim registry. Due to racist beliefs that all people of Japanese ancestry posed a security risk after the bombing of Pearl Harbor, more than 100,000 men, women, and children were rounded up and relocated, forced to live in camps during World War II. 62% of internees were United States citizens. My next guest recently wrote a moving column putting a human face on Trump's unconstitutional idea. And joining me now is actor, activist, and social media maven George Takei. At the age of 5, he and his family were forced at gunpoint from their home and relocated to an internment camp for the duration of World War II. And George, it's always great to talk to you, even under these circumstances. Your column was wonderful, and it was very moving. It was called "They Interned My Family. Don't Let Them Do It to Muslims." I'll read a little bit of it for our audience. And you wrote, 120,000 people, including me and my family, lost our homes, our livelihoods, and our freedoms because we happened to look like the people who bombed Pearl Harbor. Higbie speaks of the internment in the abstract as a precedent or a policy, ignoring the true human tragedy that occurred. What moved you to write that column, George?
Well, I heard Carl Higbie's interview on Fox, and my blood was boiling. He said, there's precedent. If there's a precedent, it's a precedent to make America disgraced again. It was one of the most shameful chapters of American history. And for having done that, many decades later, President Ronald Reagan apologized for it on behalf of the nation and paid a $20,000 token restitution to every survivor of the internment camp experience. That $20,000 totaled up to $1.6 billion. That's just the restitution money, not including the cost of the internment itself. It was a pointless, stupid action by the government and an enormously costly one. And this ill-informed man, Higbie, doesn't know what he's talking about. If he's calling this a precedent, it's a precedent to not ever do things like this again. He said it's for national security. Well, national security must never be used to justify the denial of fundamental constitutional rights and protections.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I want to play for you very quickly, George, 3 sound bites. One of them is Donald Trump himself, because this idea of a Muslim database, of registering Muslims, was very popular with his base. It's one of the promises that he made on the campaign trail. So you have something like, 60 million people that are expecting him to do it. This was Donald Trump on November 19th being asked about this idea of a database. Take a listen.
For Muslims specifically, how do you actually get them registered into a database?
It would be just good management. What you have to do is good management procedures, and we can do that. That's nice.
Do you go to mosques and sign these people up into the system?
Different places. You sign them up at different, but it's all about management. Our country has no management.
So it's all about management. Then on Thursday, this past Thursday, a spokesman for Donald Trump, Jason Miller, denied that he had an idea for a database. He says President-elect Trump has never advocated for any registry or system that tracks individuals based on their religion, and to imply otherwise is completely false. Okay, fast forward to today. Reince Priebus, the incoming chief of staff, was asked directly, is there a Muslim database coming? And this was the rather long and winding answer he gave to our own Chuck Todd. Take a listen.
I'm not going to rule out anything, but I wouldn't. We're not going to have a registry based on a religion. But what I think what we're trying to do is say that there are some people, certainly not all people, Chuck, there are some people that are radicalized, and there are some people that have to be prevented from coming into this country. And Donald Trump's position, President Trump's position, is consistent with bills in the House and the Senate that say the following: if you want to come from a place or an area around the world that harbors and trains terrorists, we have to temporarily suspend that operation until a better vetting system is put in place.
Okay. George, when you hear all of those various explanations of what they want to do, what do you hear?
You know, there's a lot of vagueness, ambiguity about this. Now, let me tell you about a Republican Attorney General in California at that time in the early 40s. He was a fine lawyer, but he wanted to run for governor of California, and he saw that the single most popular issue in California at that time was lock up the Japanese movement. And so this attorney general, who knew the law, who knew the Constitution, decided to be an outspoken advocate for locking up the Japanese Americans. And he made an amazing statement. He said, "We have no reports of sabotage or spying or fifth column activities by Japanese Americans. And that is ominous because the Japanese are inscrutable. So it would be prudent to lock them up before they do anything." For this attorney, the absence of evidence was the evidence, and the internment happened. This attorney general ran for governor, won, and was reelected twice, and then he was appointed to be the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court of the United States. His name is Earl Warren. So, you know, when there's this fog of ambiguity about the whole thing, that makes it that much easier to say, well, let's categorize them all as the same and enact something like the Muslim registry. We must not allow this to happen. Back then, they used national security as the reason. And here we again hear that same echo.
And George, as we show, I want our producers to put up some photos of you as a young child at Rohr Relocation Center in Rohr, Arkansas, and we also have pictures of your family that were provided to us courtesy of CBS. You were more than 110,000 Japanese Americans, including little kids like you were at the time, were locked up. I know that in the next few days, yourself and the producers of Allegiance, the wonderful Broadway musical that I was very privileged to get to see, thanks to you and your partner, you're formally inviting every mayor, every state representative, and every member of Congress and senator in each of the locations where you guys are going to screen a movie of Allegiance in their community, and that's happening on December 13th. Please tell us why you've decided to do that, George.
Well, in the 80s, Congress had hearings on the internment. I testified at that as well. And their conclusion was that the internment happened because of three things: war hysteria, racial prejudice, and the failure of political leadership. Political leadership failed, and we hear chilling echoes of that again with the incoming Trump administration. And it's this that concerns us very much. So Allegiance tells the story of the internment, a story that's still little known and even less understood. And we think that political leaders are very important in knowing about this history. So we are inviting them to be our guests, free of charge. All political elected officials, from the municipal to the county to the state and certainly to on the federal level, to come see Allegiance on December the 13th so that they'll learn something about this little-known chapter of American history. I think they'll learn an important lesson, and they will not allow this sort of thing to happen again.
Absolutely. Well, George, you are a national treasure, and I thank you so much for taking the time out to come and talk to us today. And we want to join you in inviting everyone to see the wonderful Broadway musical Allegiance, its big screen debut in select movie theaters on December 13th. George, thank you, and bless you.
Thank you for having me.